Axel's bringing us something that's a little bit of retail. So we're going to get into the retail a little bit here, and specifically an interesting platform that takes use of pre-TCO double net lease opportunities here. Axel, I see you, I see your screen, and it looks great. So next 10 minutes of yours, go ahead and dive in when you're ready. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jimmy. Good morning to those tuning in from California. Good afternoon for those on the East Coast. My name is Axel Adler. I am a commercial real estate broker out of Orange County, California. I work for Centennial Advisers. A little bit about myself before I start. Originally from the French-speaking part of Switzerland, specifically Geneva. I was born in London at a young age, moved to Hong Kong, so grew up out there for 15 years, got recruited to play Division I soccer at UC Irvine, did that for 4 years, and then after that, straight into the OZ world, where I've been spending all day, every day for the past 3 years in the OZ space. Absolutely love it, as I'm sure a lot of you guys love it too. So over the past couple of years, Centennial Advisors and myself have kind of become industry leaders, along with Jimmy and a lot of the speakers here today. The reason I think we have become leaders in this space is because we offer a different investment option in the OZ space. We basically offer the opportunity for clients who are looking for a safe, secure place to invest their capital gains. And we do that a couple of ways. First, tremendous amount of research on the right areas. And then within those areas, find the real estate that is easy to operate, easy to manage, and easy to own, that has high quality tenants and provides the best tax benefits. So Jimmy mentioned retail. We do a lot of retail. We do a lot of industrial. We've done some multifamily. But before I go into all of that, Jimmy and I and a lot of the speakers here today were at the OZ conference in Novogradac last week in DC. The only thing I want to say is it's been an interesting journey. I first attended the first OZ conference for Novogradac in 2022 in Long Beach as an attendee, trying to learn and absorb as much information as I could. And fast forward a couple of years, now was invited on the panel to kind of speak about our unique strategy and kind of our niche in the OZ space. Same thing with Jimmy and his platform. When I first started, a lot of education through him. And then now, obviously, presenting the strategy at this pitch day. So it's been an interesting journey for sure. The next slide is basically our strategy in 6 steps. I'll spend a couple minutes on this, and then I'll share a deal with you guys. Pretty straightforward, 6 steps. First one, capital gain event, self-explanatory. The second step is basically in the OZ space. We've heard a lot about fund sponsors. Most of the speakers here, represent a fund or trying to raise capital. Our clients kind of prefer to keep control over the whole process. And so they like to create their own captive OZ fund. Self-directed OZ fund is what other people call it too. And the reason is just mostly control, right? The third step is where I come in, identifying under construction properties in opportunity zones. Once again, there's kind of 2 ways you can invest. You can either buy land or building and substantially improve it, or you can go down the original use route, which is finding an under construction property. And as you'll see in step 6, closing before the CO, which a lot of people have been talking about too. The fourth step is renegotiating the lease from a triple net to a double net. The legislation clearly outlines triple net leases don't work. So we've renegotiated these leases with large corporations, 7-Eleven, Starbucks, Chipotle, to make it a double net. If you want to know what the landlord is responsible for, reach out to me. More than happy to explain what you guys would be responsible for. And that leads us to step 5. Step 5 is important in the OZ space if you really want to maximize the benefits. If you want to create some basis in the building, you got to add debt. And so I think Eric from Urban Catalyst mentioned the no depreciation recapture on the back end. That's one of the hidden benefits a lot of people forget, is down the road, there's no depreciation recapture, right? So that's why financing is key in OZ properties. What I will say is, spoke about that on the panel in DC a little bit, is we've been able to combine opportunity zones with bonus depreciation. If you don't know what those are, happy to share that as well down the line. And then last but not least, as I mentioned, closing pre-CO is a requirement, right? The IRS looks at the building, considers it placed in service once the CO is delivered. So if you close before CO, you're all good to go. So that's the strategy itself. Within that strategy, we've done a lot of, as Jimmy mentioned, retail deals, industrial deals, multifamily. That's the strategy on one hand. On the other hand, my expertise and my value is finding the best OZ deals across the country for my clients, right? I think Chris from Caliber earlier today mentioned Bryan, Texas, which is right next to College Station, which is where Texas A&M is. At the bottom of your screen, my client bought this brand new construction Starbucks in March. Another deal, another OZ that's similar is the one up in West Lafayette, the Caliber Collision. Similar concept around a university, about a mile away from Purdue University. And then Jimmy last week mentioned Story County as an opportunity zone that maybe isn't supposed to be an opportunity zone, but those are kind of the places I put my clients into, right? Which is a nice little segue to the second part of the presentation, which is a listing just got a couple of weeks ago, which is in Story County. Basically, it's in the Sparks area, about 10 miles east of Reno. And I consider it the best OZ deal in the country for 3 reasons: the location, the strength of the tenant, and the return of the investment. So the location, what I can tell you about it is, yeah, a couple miles off of east of Reno on I-80. It's in the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, which is technically the largest industrial center in the world, just over 100,000 acres. And, you know, huge corporations have been moving to the area. Walmart moved in 2005. They've got their Western headquarters out there. Apple moved in 2012, built 200 acres data center and a 300-acre solar farm in 2020. Tesla is the big one that everyone knows about. They invested $6 billion since 2014, and they just committed to another $4 billion this year for the next couple of years. Switch has the largest data center in the world, and they came in 2017. And then Google arrived in 2019. They bought 1,200 acres. And looking down the road, you know, opportunity zones, the real benefit as well as 10 years down the road, the area is seeing a ton of growth. Microsoft just bought 300 acres. You've got a lot of data centers and where, you know, huge corporations moving. And there's some talks of hundreds of thousands, millions of square feet of warehouse and industrial currently being built in that area. So that's the location. Arguably the best OZ in the country, in my opinion. When it comes to the tenant, the strength of the tenant is Rain for Rent. So what they do is they basically provide temporary liquid handling solutions. When, for example, there's floods, they will move water from point A to point B. So they use pumps, they use tanks, filtration, all this equipment. You can see on this slide right here, the building is 85,000 square feet, but the whole lot is over 4 acres. So on the right, the parcel on the right is basically going to be a huge yard where they're going to be moving equipment in and out. This is going to be the hub for the Western coast for these guys. They operate 65 locations across the US, Canada, and the United Kingdom. Their revenue this year was just about 400 million, and they've got 1,400 employees at the company. Lease-wise, they're going to sign a brand new 10-year lease, or they've signed a brand new 10-year lease. They've got 2 5-year options, 3% annual increases. The annual rent is $300,000, so that equates to 25 grand every month. And as you guys obviously can see from the picture, it is not built yet. It's currently under construction. So they are estimated completion date is February 2025, and that's when Rain for Rent will be moving in. Last but not least, kind of talked about the return based on the lease. The whole offering, the whole listing is offered at $5.5 million. It's a 5.5 cap, and it's currently available, right? So I think my last slide here kind of just shows the area as a whole, the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center. In the back over there, you can see Apple. That's where their solar farm is. The logo at the bottom is the Switch logo, which is the largest data center in the world. To the right, you've got Tesla, and they're a little bit out in the mountains just because they they currently occupy 5 million square feet of space out there. So they need a lot of land, obviously. Walmart is also in the picture right here. And then, yeah, that's kind of been that's the whole pitch. I don't know, I'm probably under time. I'm open for questions, comments. I know, Jimmy, we spoke about this area quite a couple of times on the podcast, in person. And so, yeah, that's the whole presentation. Any questions, happy to answer them. I'll share my email as well. And yeah.
I love it when my presenters come in under time. Let's open it up for a couple of minutes here for a couple of questions before we turn to our next presenter. Comment from Sal says the Edison Opportunity Fund is also in the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center. He's been involved with that one since 2018. He wants to talk to you, Axel. So he's going to connect with you via LinkedIn. So watch out for Sal Johnson. He's coming your way. Using the wrong mouse here. Sorry, multiple computers. Let's see. Q&A. John wants to know, do you have a pro forma for any of these projects, or maybe a case study pro forma?
Pro forma numbers. It's basically, it's a 5.5 cap if you pay for it all cash at list price. If we advise to get some debt to take advantage of all the OZ benefits, namely the depreciation. So you're probably a little less than a 5.5 cap, but you take into consideration the deferral, the elimination, the no depreciation recapture in 10 years. Pro forma over 10 years, you're probably in the low teens when it comes to returns. So yeah, that's the answer.
And John says, hey, this looks like a great deal. Do you know why the owner is selling?
He's a developer. He is not in the business of building and holding. He's in the business of building, selling, and moving on to the next project. So yeah, I've worked with this developer a couple of times in this area as well. So great relationship, definitely a motivated seller. So there's available and there's opportunity here for the right person.
Very good. Sal says, great job, Axel. We got a thanks so much, Axel, from Clara. Axel, I think I don't think so. I don't see any other questions for you in the chat here or in the Q&A. What's the best way to reach out to you and your team if someone is interested in learning more or taking the next step with you?
Yep, absolutely. Cell phone, I'm available most days for sure. 949-514-9410. And then I can also share my email. It's my first name dot last name, axel.adler@centadv.com. I could put it in the chat as well.
Perfect. I've just posted it in the chat. And so, yeah, we've got a couple people who say they're going to be reaching out to you. So Axel, I'll cut you loose there. We're going to move on to our next presentation, but thank you so much for your continued support of OZ Insiders and OpportunityZones.com and OZ Pitch. It was great seeing you in DC last week also, Axel, and great seeing you on here today. Thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Always appreciate the help, man.